and we're recording. Okay, so let me give you a brief intro. Hey everyone, I'm Monica Clavijo, and welcome to the Bear Experiment podcast, bringing you raw and unfiltered stories from incredible guests. Now, today we welcome Zach, who's a gifted astrologer, numerologist, and spiritual guide who helps people unlock their cosmic blueprint. Now, with years of experience decoding the stars and the numbers, Zach blends ancient wisdom with modern insights, empowering others to navigate life with clarity, purpose, and manifestation. From the power of numerology to the hidden message in astrology. And he's here to break it all down for us. So before we begin, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so that you never miss an episode. Now let's dive in. So welcome to the podcast, Zach. I really appreciate you taking your time to speak with me about a topic that absolutely fascinates me.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. I love the content that you're putting out there on social media, how you're explaining a lot of the planetary alignments, and you talk about like important dates, how we should manifest. And I really think that a lot of people are interested in this type of subject matter, but it's kind of like a little eerie, like it's tabooish sometimes to like talk about it. It makes you a little weird. So it's awesome to have you on the podcast so that you can break it down for all of us, including myself. So let's start with what inspired you to study astrology and numerology?
That would be religious upbringing. Uh, I was, I basically had the entire Bible memorized, but at a very early age, I'd say I've been doing this since I was like 14, 15 years old. So almost 14 or 15 years of my life has been dedicated to this. But I started seeing how things in the Bible, whenever you see like numbers always add up to nine. I got curious about why that was. And that led into figuring out that even the Bible itself is just allegory for astrology. Everything in it is just allegory for astrology. Even on the first page, it talks about astrology, and it's all hidden right there in plain sight. So that sparked my interest. And of course, you hear, born May 25th. I'd always heard you're a Gemini or whatever, whatever, and that happened to also be part of the curiosity. Was I was wanting to figure out like what makes a Gemini, and the more I learned about Gemini, the more I was like, well, this isn't me. So what does this mean? And start to figure out how astrology actually correlates to each individual person, how everyone is all 12 zodiac signs. The Bible is a story of you and the zodiac signs that you possess and how you're supposed to behave during certain times of the year. And it all just kind of started, everything just kind of made sense. One day, everything just clicked and everything just kind of fits into that way of thinking.
So how does astrology and numerology work together and provide spiritual guidance?
Okay, so numerology is what I call numerology vague astrology because numerology does not give us as detailed of insights as astrology does. However, numerology is usually where a bunch of people jump on for the first time. They start hearing about numerology, and since there's only nine numbers that you have to worry about in numerology, it is a great place to start. And usually, people's spiritual awakenings, they'll start to see repeating numbers, either 111 or 222, or
All day
what I
long.
call
I see that.
sequencing numbers, which is like 1, 2, 3, or 5, 6, 7, or 7, 8, 9, things
So
like that.
what
When you
what
start to
what does
see
that
that,
mean? Yeah, what does that mean? Because
that's
I see that like all day long. I don't know if
yeah,
it's because I'm
it's
just more conscious to it at this point, or is it something that I'm at a spiritual awakening or I'm in the beginning process of it.
it's definitely everything you just mentioned. When you start to see the different numbers, like let's say you're seeing repeating numbers, and the way I tell people that the what it means when you start seeing these is the matrix has decided to communicate with you. The simulation, the matrix, source, whatever you want to call it, this thing that we live in, I call it the mind, but it decided to start communicating with you because it decided that you were intelligent enough or reached a point spiritually where you were ready to start to become aware of how everything works, the as above, the so below, the without and the within, and how everything is just one thing. So when it sends you like, let's say, repeating numbers, it's emphasizing this certain thing. Like if you see 111 constantly, then it means you're on the right path. If you're seeing 222 constantly, it means you're getting your karma. If you see 333 constantly, it means that luck and abundance is in store. 444 means work on your discipline, or stay disciplined in the thing you're being disciplined in. Five could be signifying something new headed your way. Six, something to do with opportunity headed your way. Um, Stay optimistic, things about discerning fact from fiction. Seven, uh, whenever you see seven a lot, seven is by far one of the most spiritual numbers because it represents the deepest part of the human psychology. When you see seven a lot, that seven, when you see repeating sevens or seven in the sequency, then you're definitely in some kind of spiritual aspect of life that's talking about. Eight constantly is, if you see 888, that's stuff to do with cycles and seasons. And then if you see 999, something is definitely coming to an end.
That's so interesting because one of the numbers that I resonate with the strongest when I do see the repetitive numbers is 777 or 77.
Yeah. Seven is definitely one of the most complicated numbers in numerology altogether. The simplest way to put it is anybody with seven energy, or who is incorporating seven energy into their life. They're very, very intelligent because seven is the number of the genius. A lot of smart people have seven energy. Elon Musk is an example I use. He's a life past seven.
Oh, how interesting. Okay, so how has astrology evolved in the modern world?
All right. So for the most part, it hasn't. It really hasn't. It's astrology's been kind of staying the same, and that's where I've kind of started putting, or at least as far as I know, some people may that I don't know about, some people may be doing the same thing, but I've been trying to modernize it as well. For example, in astrology, there are 12 houses. The birth chart is divided up into 12 sections. Each section is a house. Each house represents a different aspect of the human experience. In the 11th house has always represented community. Well, I've started using the 11th house as the house of social media because everybody is part of online communities nowadays, not so much physical community
Right, right,
or
absolutely.
the lot of manifestation. There's certain lot points in astrology. There's, let's say, the lot of fortune. There's the lot of spirit, the lot of love, and then nothing new has been added to since ancient Egypt. So in about 5,000 years, and so I added the lot of manifestation.
Okay, so can you break down what a natal birth chart is and why is it so personal?
Okay, so the birth chart itself, or let me start with something that people can understand. So if you stand outside of a house, you look at a house, you can see that house. And even if you go inside of the house, you can see the house. You can see the different rooms. This is the kitchen, this is the bathroom, this is the living room, bedrooms, all that kind of stuff. But you don't truly know what makes that house unique and makes that house what it is until you see the blueprint. The blueprint is your birth chart. The blueprint is the blueprint of you. And not to sound like eerie or nothing, but you could walk into what looks like a nice house and
Right,
there'd be all kinds of hidden stuff, hidden trap doors and things, like a haunted house, torture rooms or whatever it may be. There's things that can be hidden from you just from what you can see. Nothing is hidden in a birth chart. Every little detail of who you are is in a birth chart. And like I was saying earlier, you got 12 houses. Each house in astrology represents the human experience, different aspects of it. The first house represents your physical form. The second house, money, personal values, and the third house is communication, and the fourth house is family, so on and so forth. And each one of those is how that aspect of your life will play out for you, depending on which zodiac sign is in there. But then we throw in a little extra spice on there with what planets are in there, what energies the planets bring, the luminaries, and there's even mathematical points, things that don't physically exist in outer space that still have influence over your life.
so what do the planets symbolize in astrology?
Each one. So, trying to think of the best way to explain this. So, Mars represents your actions, your passions, and how you show anger. Venus represents, and right now I'm going to talk about the personal planets because as everybody knows, there's different planets, and there's in astrology, there's personal planets. These are planets that daily affect your life. There's societal planets, which have more of a pull on society, but still affect your life, but they're so far out. The transitions that they make are they're like Jupiter is a societal planet and it spends one whole year in each zodiac. It doesn't change zodiacs throughout the year. It's in one. And Saturn is 2.5 years, so on and so forth. Uranus is like 7 years in each zodiac. So once we go Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, those planets have more pull in your day-to-day life. So Mars represents your forward momentum. What is it that you do like let's say when you're excited about something, what kind of
Hmm.
actions do you take to pursue that? That's Mars energy, but it also shows how we show rage. Anger is not classified with all the other emotions. Mars is directly responsible for how we show anger. The moon is responsible for how we show our emotions. So if someone has the moon in, let's say, Cancer, they're more emotionally stable because the moon rules Cancer. But if we take the moon and put it in Gemini, that kind of person is going to be emotionally all over the place
Out of
unless they
whack.
heal themselves and they can. Moon in Gemini has the capability of being the most emotionally intelligent. However, a lot of times they end up just showing their emotions through temper tantrums a lot of times.
Okay, I can certainly understand that with what you told me earlier about me.
You got the moon in Gemini?
I don't know. I
Oh,
don't know,
okay.
but you said that I was in Cancer, so
Oh,
that
Cancer rising.
yeah.
That means Cancer is your first house, which means you have your avatar that you have in this matrix. You have an avatar that embodies the energy of Cancer,
Okay.
which is when people see you, they see a Cancer. Although you were born with a sun sign Leo, people see you as a Cancer. So just in person to person interactions, other people see you as someone who is very friendly, very nurturing. However, if they saw you as like a Leo rising, Leo risings are seen as very cocky, arrogant, uh, things of that nature.
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah. And there's a lot of there's a lot of things with Leo where I definitely didn't associate with, right? Like there was a lot of leadership qualities that I can see in myself and the ego, right? We're supposed to be the ones like in the front, on stage all the time. And there's certain aspects of that that I can relate to, but I definitely saw myself a little more tame,
Yeah.
not necessarily like your Leo, right? The way that your Leo is explained when you're
So
born in August.
you have the sun in Leo, which means you have the sun in Leo in the second house. However, I have Mars and Leo in the fifth house, which people don't really understand what I mean when I say this, but I have more Leo energy than you do. Even though you have the sun sign Leo, which people will be like, oh, you're a Leo. No, you're less of a Leo than I am. And I don't even have Leo in my big three, which would be sun, moon, and rising. But because of the planet that I have in Leo, and because I have Leo in the fifth house is Leo's house that amplifies that Leo energy, which would say that I have more Leo energy than you. So I would probably associate with more of the Leo aspects than even you do.
Okay. Okay. So interesting. It's complicated also, right? It's confusing.
It is. And the
Yeah.
problem is if people were taught this from an early age, it wouldn't be confusing. It's only confusing because it's been cheapened and it's been minimized. So they'd make it just like, oh, you're a Leo because you were born in August, or you're a Gemini because you were born between May 21st and June 21st. And if that was the case, then that would mean a group of people that were born within this 30-day time period would be exactly the same. However, none of those people are the same. Why is that? It's because of every single other aspect of astrology.
There was an article that I read some time ago, and I can't remember the specifics, but it had to do with the planets orbiting differently. And as a result of that, everyone's sun rising astrology sign had changed. So if you were Leo, you were really a Virgo. And is there any truth to that?
Now, what it is this people are confused between what's called Western astrology and Vedic astrology, right?
Mhm.
It's basically the difference between astrology and astronomy. Astronomy is real time, like in the physical, like
Wow.
what zodiac sign is the planet actually in, versus astrology, which sits about 23 degrees ahead of real time astronomy. However, Vedic astrology is based on actual astronomy, whereas Western, like I said, sits 23 degrees ahead. I have found that Western is more accurate, it's more mathematically perfect, and it makes more sense. However, when you're reading people's karmic debt and things like that, that's more tied in with the Vedic. So you have both of these astrology charts, both of these are actually you, both of them apply to you. So while you're a Cancer rising in uh sidereal or in Western, you're a Leo rising in sidereal or Vedic astrology.
Now, Vedic astrology is considered Chinese astrology?
No, Vedic astrology is Indian.
Indian. Okay, and what is
Chinese astrology basically sits in between Western and Vedic astrology.
okay, okay. So what do the roles with the I don't know, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, the Chiron and the Lilith play into the astrology chart?
Okay, Chiron
Chiron.
is
Okay.
all right. So the best way to understand what anything in astrology means is to learn your mythology. Mythology is them telling us what astrology is. So Chiron, to explain what Chiron is, you have to explain the myth of Chiron in Greek mythology. Chiron was a centaur who trained all of the Greek heroes. He trained Odysseus and Hercules and all these people, and he was made immortal by the gods so that he could continue to train all the demigods for the rest of eternity. And then he was shot in the heart with an arrow that was poisoned, but because he was immortal and couldn't die, the nature of the poison wasn't to kill him, it was to create an unhealable wound. So Chiron now has a gigantic hole in his chest where his heart's supposed to be, and it causes him extreme pain all day, every day. But he has to get over it in order to help others with their journeys, in order to help heal others. So that's what Chiron represents in our birth chart. It's a wound that we were born into this world with, and that wound in and of itself is something we have to get over in order to help other people with the healing aspect of their life that has to do with our Chiron wound.
And how do we get over that? How do we heal that wound?
You don't heal it. It never heals. You can never heal that wound. It is forever. It is a forever wound. It's something you have to acknowledge, realize it's there, and then get over it every single day.
Okay. And
So,
then
for example, I'll give you an example. We can use me as the example. I have Chiron and Virgo in the sixth house. The sixth house represents health and daily routines. Virgo represents attention to detail. And Virgo also rules the sixth house. So all that same, it's basically all that same energy, health, daily routines, attention to detail, uh, working on intelligence. And then I have Chiron there. So with Chiron and Virgo in the sixth house, that translates to the reason why once upon a time I was over 300 pounds. It translates to why I am the world's worst procrastinator. I have to consciously every day remind myself that getting things done when I'm supposed to is the thing that I suck at the most. So I need to make sure that I do it immediately.
so that's your focus. It, it
Mhm.
it it allows you to understand what your weak points are in order for you to focus stronger
See,
on.
and that right there, you what you just said, and that's what a lot of people don't understand about astrology or numerology. The word logi, Logy, that's at the end of all that. It comes from the Latin word logos, which means the reason why. So when we look at Chiron, for me, Chiron and Virgo in the sixth house, yes, I know that I procrastinate, but there is a reason why. Knowing the reason makes it a lot easier for you to stay on top of yourself and getting done what needs to be done.
And not beat yourself up for it so much, right?
Yes. Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. This is the reason why these certain aspects of your life play out the way they do, or why you are this way in this aspect of your life, or why relationships go a certain way for you every single time, or why businesses always work out a certain. It's all right there in astrology. Every little detail of your experience in this life is laid out in your birth chart the moment you're born.
That is fascinating. Okay, so what about Lilith? How does that play into the astrology
Okay,
chart?
so Lilith is a very fun one. Lilith's very interesting. Lilith is like uh Lilith is very sexy, right? Everybody wants to talk about Lilith. There's a lot of mystery around Lilith because Lilith represents dark feminine energy that we repress in ourselves. And the story of Lilith is basically when God created Adam, he created Adam and Lilith first from the same ground. Unlike Eve, she was not created from a rib of Adam. She was created from the same exact ground um, Adam was created from, and they had this big argument. And the at the end of the day, the crux of the argument was who was going to be on top during sex. Adam wanted to be on top because he saw himself as more superior to Lilith. Lilith wanted to be on top because in her mind they were created from the same ground, so they were equal. Neither was superior to the other one. Adam wasn't willing to relent, neither was she. So she uttered what's described as the ineffable name of God, turned into a creature of great power, and flew away. And then she, throughout the story of Lilith, she goes through different things. At one point in time, she gets cast to the bottom of the ocean, which represents the ocean represents the human psyche. So in us, from a very early age, wherever and whatever aspect you have Lilith in, that's the part of yourself that everyone in your life, through different means, got you to repress in yourself. However, it's the part of yourself that if you allow free, it'll provide power, freedom, liberation from just life itself. So I'll use myself as the example again. I have Black Moon Lilith in Gemini in the third house. I grew up in the type of family where I was told that I talk too much, I asked too many questions, very religious. So you weren't supposed to question the Bible. However, I couldn't stop questioning the Bible because things contradicted themselves, and uh, also seeing how the Bible correlated to numerology and astrology, but that was never stuff you were allowed to say in the church.
Right.
So that was something that I was from a very early age. Everything in my external world got me to repress this always questioning, always wanting to communicate aspect of myself. However, I didn't actually release that aspect of myself until I was about 2 years ago uh, when I started making this content specifically, and it's actually created financial freedom in my life. It's created opportunities that I've never had before. It's made my life go from basically like this. I was living on disability as a legally blind person, $700 a month for 10 years of my life until I was 28 years old. When I released that Lilith aspect of myself, um, yeah, it's financial freedom. Like I can travel the world, I can go wherever, do whatever, whenever, and it's all because of releasing that Lilith energy.
It's about living in your authentic self, right? Once
It's
you finally
yes.
accept that and you're true to yourself and not going based on what other people think that you should do or what society enables us to believe that we're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you talk about the ocean and Lilith, right?
Hmm.
I've also read a lot about the powers of the energy with the ocean, with prayer and meditation. When you're underwater, there's a spiritual connection that you automatically experience. Is there any truth to that where the powers of water will help you manifest at a higher level?
Yes, dependent on several factors, right? So if somebody in their birth chart has predominantly the element of fire, like for example, uh, I have 66% fire in my birth chart, uh, and I only have 8% water. Water is a very, very difficult element for me to work with for two reasons. One, I'm supposed to, because I have my lot of manifestation in Cancer in the fourth house. So a lot of water energy there. However, too much water will also kill the fire, and the fire is needed. So some people have to incorporate fire with water in different ratios. But yes, water can be a great catalyst dependent on if water is a beneficial um, element in your birth chart.
So going back to Lilith and the Bible, why is it that churches frown upon astrology so much and say that this is a negative, this is diabolical?
Because they have to demonize everything that isn't the money pyramid.
True.
Honestly, I grew up in a church where basically you're when you're in that church from an early age, you're basically expected to take on some major role in that church as an adult. Like that
Right.
it feeds itself. And what I learned through studying religion and studying how seminary school and all that stuff works, they basically tell you from the jump, what we teach isn't real. We just use it as a business. And that's all it is. It's always just a business. It just happens to be a tax exempt business.
Correct. Correct.
And,
That
one of the ways they get over on people is the fact they use the King James Bible, and any translation after the King James Bible just furthers their motive. So, but you take the King James Bible, which is written in Old English. Most people do not understand Old English. It's a different language.
hmm
And the example I use to explain that is if you was to ask somebody, what does the line that everybody knows, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, O Romeo? What does that mean? Most people would say that means, where are you, Romeo? But in the play, that doesn't make sense because he's literally standing under the window when she says that to him. Wherefore art thou means, why are you? So it doesn't even sound the same. So the way preachers and people who go to seminary school get over on others is because people just don't know Old English. So they can bend it to mean whatever they want it to mean when they're preaching.
So if there was a Bible that you would recommend for someone to truly understand the beginning teachings, which one is there one that you would recommend? Is there one in
All
particular?
right. So it's outside of it has nothing to do with astrology, it has nothing to do with anything like that. The book I recommend everybody starts with because it really starts to open your eyes. I read this book. I've read this book once a month, every month for 2 years now, but it's called the Book of Thomas. And the Book of Thomas is just words from Jesus, and that's all. It's just words in red. There's no storyline to it. They're basically like proverbs. There's these little clips, and this has been the most beneficial book for anything to do with the beginning of a spiritual journey.
Oh, okay, I'll definitely look into that one. That's interesting. Okay, so you talk a lot about with the planetary transits that are happening right now. What is the significance in 2025? Why is this year such an important?
Oh man, there's a lot to unpack there. So 2025 is a 9 year. It's a universal 9 year. It's a year where things come to an end, new beginnings are created. Um, Nine is the most powerful number in all of numerology because everything comes from and returns back to nine, which is showed through certain patterns like one doubled is two, two doubled is four, four doubled is eight, eight doubled is 16, one plus six is seven, seven doubled is 14, one plus four is five, five doubled is 10, one plus zero is one, and that cycle completes itself into infinity. The only numbers I didn't name were three, six, and nine. So three doubled is six, six doubled is 12, one plus two is three, three doubled is six, six doubled is 12, and that goes on into infinity. So the only number that can't get named in that sequence is nine. And if we take 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, that equals 36. And 3 plus 6 is 9. And then that this is something that continues to show itself. And it's because nine is the number of source. Nine is the number of the matrix. The letters of the alphabet that the number nine rule is I and R. That's illusion and reality, incarnation, reincarnation. It's the very fabric of source. It's from which everything comes and to which everything shall return. Nine is also the number of human consciousness. So, like if someone is residing in the root chakra, that's known as beast consciousness, and it manifests itself as someone uh, giving traits of the seven deadly sins: anger or pride, lust, slothfulness, gluttony. All those things are an example of someone living in the root chakra. Humans are carbon-based life forms, and carbon is made up of six protons, six electrons, six neutrons, 666. If someone is residing in the root chakra, they are living in what's known as beast consciousness. And 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18, and 1 plus 8 is 9. However, if somebody is showing the traits of the seven heavenly virtues, they've gone through the process of raising the chrism oil, of going through their Kundalini fast every month, and they're residing in the crown chakra, that's 144,000. 1 plus 4 plus 4 is still 9. Every single human is a different shade of brown. The word brown equals 27, and 2 plus 7 is 9. I could do this all day. 9 is the number of humanity. 9 is the number of source because everything outside of the human is just a reflection of what's inside the human. But it being a 9 year, and what makes this year and what's going on right now so potent is because of it's a 9 year. Like I said, it represents everything within, everything without, source itself. Pisces in astrology represents the innermost, deepest part of the human subconscious. So the North Node has recently went into Pisces. I think that happened back in January. January the 11th, the North Node went into Pisces. We have a new moon coming up in Pisces. This is
Mhm.
really big energy on bringing things from the deepest part of your subconscious into the real world, illusion into reality, imagination into reality.
So the new moon is you talk about it being on February the 27th, and how powerful it is, like you're just mentioning right now. So how do we how can we utilize uh February the 27th, the new moon to
With it being in Pisces, if you're going to do any kind of rituals, those do need to be water-based rituals because Pisces is a water sign. One of the things you'll notice is you should probably start keeping a dream journal by your bed. Everyone should, but
Mhm.
a dream journal by your bed for the next year and a half because the North Node's going to be in Pisces for the next year and a half. I've heard a lot of people reporting that they are having more vivid dreams than they've ever had before. I'm one of those
Yes,
people. I've
me
never dreamed
too.
before in my life.
Me
However,
too.
now, like I sleep for like 12 hours every day, and it's just dream after dream after dream to the point where sometimes I wake up feeling like I didn't even sleep. I feel exhausted from my dreams.
Is it because we're like crossing over to the other realms and we're just
No, it's
working?
because the North Node is in Pisces. That's the reason. That's the
Okay.
reason why the Pisces represents the deepest part of human consciousness. It represents everything you can't see with your physical eye.
So is this a higher power talking to us? The Matrix, spiritual guides, guardian angels, is that what's happening?
Matrix. It's the Matrix, it's source, it's God, it's whatever you want to call it. There's many different names that it goes by, but at the end of the day, it's the singular code of thought. That's all it is. Everything comes from that. Like in the beginning, there was just pure perfect thought. Pure perfect thought wanted to create, so it manifested a feminine aspect. And through the feminine aspect, the masculine aspect was able to create. That's how manifestation works. That's why it starts with a thought, then impregnates the heart. The heart must carry it to term, just like a pregnancy, giving birth to the desired result, which is the child.
Okay. Okay. Um, what is the significance of the portal on July the 7th that you also talk so much about? Why should we pay
Oh,
attention to that date?
okay. Because, all right, so it's July the 7th, which is the 7-7 portal. Uranus goes into Gemini, and Uranus will be in Gemini for 7 years. So we got 7-7-7. Huge,
Mm.
huge, huge spiritual stuff there. Gemini, when Uranus goes into Gemini, as far back as we could trace it, every time Uranus has gone into Gemini, it flips humanity upside down on its head. In the 1300s, we had the Renaissance era in Italy. Then we had like the 1500s, we had Spanish conquest, and it's only going to happen once every 84 years. So all the way up to the 1940s, we had World War II.
So big political moves happening,
Not
possibly.
just that, in the individual's life, this is where I think it matters more because, like I was talking about, we were in the 9 year. The number 9 is also, and that's a huge theme of just everything has to be taken through the catalyst or looked at through the lens of this is a 9 year. 9 is the number of ego, right? Because 9 is the letter I. And whenever you refer to yourself, whenever you self-identify, you say, I went to the store. I had to stop by the bank. I did this. I did that. So anytime you're doing that, you're invoking 9. This year specifically is like based and focused on each individual that makes the collective versus the collective and how it affects each individual.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
the fact that Uranus is moving into Gemini in a 9 year and 7 and 9, those two numbers together is a whole different video of itself because those numbers have crazy play with each other. But um, because you could think of it as like 7 itself and 9 being 9, 7 is the as below, Nine is the as above. Seven represents everything in the natural world. That's why you got seven seas, seven continents, seven musical notes, seven
Right.
colors.
Right.
And then the number nine is everything outside of the physical world, outside of even time and space, because the number eight represents time and space.
I've read a lot about how the number 666 represent family, right? And the family aspect of our lives. But then you go back to the Bible and to, Christians and religion, where it signifies the number of the beast. So which one is it?
It's both.
Mm.
Uh, because, all right, so like if I say 666 represents the root chakra, residing there isn't good. However, in order to have anything worth having, you have to start there. Everything must start at the root. The root is the foundation of everything. So, in order to even create a family, you have to tap into the root chakra to get lust, to procreate, and even make a child.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So one cannot be without the other, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the main point is everything is polarity. Everything is just extremes of one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You take hot and cold, 100 degrees and 0 degrees is the same thing. And which is showed to us by like the Tibetan monks that'll go sit in the snow wearing nothing and not get hypothermia. It's because they understand and their mind controls their reality to the point where they see 0 degrees as freaking 65, 70.
It's all in your mind control, right?
Hmm.
The way that you believe that. That's so difficult, but it's so true. Okay, so let's see, where was I going here? Okay, so then how does numerology help us understand life path purpose, and how do we calculate that life path number?
All right, the way you calculate your life path number is you add up every single digit of your birthday. So I'll use myself as the example. May 25th, 1995. 5 plus 2 plus 5 plus 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 5 equals 36. Then add 3 plus 6, that equals 9. That makes me a life path 9. That's how you calculate your life path number.
Okay, powerful number being a nine.
It's rough. It just means basically Mars is the ruler of my life.
Okay. Okay. So, what are some key numbers in numerology, where you can associate them with the path that's basically already predispositioned for you?
In numerology, the path that's predispositioned for you is not laid out. That's in astrology. That's why I say that numerology is vague astrology. So if I'm doing like street readings or whatever, I could do someone's numerology off the top of my head, and I could tell them certain things about themselves, but not as detailed as like pulling up someone's birth chart. Your path that you're supposed to basically your main storyline in life is laid out in your birth chart with your north node. Your north node determines what you're supposed to be doing in life, your soul's purpose, so to say. But
Okay.
that can't be told to us in your numerology.
Okay. So, Nicholas Telsa talked a lot about the numbers three, six, and nine, which we were touching on earlier. And if you only understood the significance and magnificence of these numbers, and you would have the keys to unlocking the universe.
Mhm.
How can we apply that with those numbers, three, six, and nine?
Three, six, and nine is it's the sacred trinity, right? Because it's child, adult, death. Repeating child. It's understanding how things work in life. Eventually, like you starting something, you have to crawl before you walk, you have to walk before you run, you have to run before you jump. That's the three aspect of it. And then eventually that thing will mature into family, into uh just the mature version of the adult, and then the adult becomes old and dies, and then a new child is born. And that's everything in life. Everything in life follows this cycle. There's the beginning stage of it, there's the mature stage of it, and like everything in life must come to an end.
Okay. All right. So then going back now to these strong portals that we were talking about, what are some suggestions that you can give us for maximum manifestations for real tangible results?
Okay, so first of all, people need to understand how manifestation works. In order to explain the answer to the question you just asked, I have to explain how manifestation works because the secret is not it. And you're not going to want something into existence. You're not aligning your frequency, all that. That's all new age garbage and it doesn't work. Manifestation follows the same principles as human procreation. That's what's at the top of all these secret societies and all that kind of stuff. That's what they don't want you to know is how thought and emotion work together to create the
Hmm.
manifestation. So, like I said earlier, the thought represents the masculine, the mind represents the masculine, the heart, the emotion represents the feminine, and then the manifestation is the child. So that's the desired result. That's what we're going after. Uh, and this is how it works. So you take the mind, you have 1,000, 1 billion thoughts per day, million thoughts per day. It is
Hmm.
like so many thoughts. Uh, However, not all of them can impregnate the heart. That's what you're going after. It's like when pregnancy is being pursued. When a man uh, ejaculates, there's a billion sperm cells in there, but not every single time is one of those guaranteed to fertilize the egg. However, eventually one of those will fertilize the egg, which that's just the beginning part. Then that egg becomes a baby, has to be carried to term in order to be delivered.
Mhm.
So the feminine, the woman in that scenario, sometimes she has to cut out some diet choices, can't eat everything that you were when you're pregnant. You have to take care of the baby, you have to nurture the baby, you have to make sure you're not drinking alcohol and all that kind of stuff for the baby. And works the same way for the manifestation. The thought, you have a billion thoughts per day. Eventually, one of those thoughts is going to end up impregnating the heart, the feminine, the emotion. And it's those emotions and how you feel about that certain thing. You got to carry it to term. There may be certain things in your life you have to cut out, maybe certain people in your life you have to cut out in order to
Right.
pursue this manifestation. And eventually, your heart and the way you feel will lead you to the desired result. And I tell people like this: if you want it, let's say it's simple. If you wanted to manifest, let's say a PlayStation 5, how would you do it? Would you just sit on your couch saying, I want a PlayStation 5 over and over, hoping that eventually one pops up? Or are you going to think, I want a PlayStation 5, get up, go get a job, or start saving your money and eventually buy the PS5? Either way, you manifested a PS5. The person who got the job to get the money to buy it is the one who manifested it. The
Right.
person who just wanted it never got one.
You need to put in the work. You need to put
Yes,
in the work. Yeah. Another thing that's always been of curiosity to me is reading that a lot of, ancient leaders and royal families would plan the births and the coronations and marriages around, these numbers and dates for astrological
absolutely.
leadership.
Absolutely. They do it today. To
Hmm.
this day, the most elite and influential people try to have their children born with the heaviest Scorpio and eighth house placements because the eighth house is shared resources, how you utilize other people's resources. And if anybody knows anything about real wealthy people, they're not holding $1 million cash in their pocket right now. It's all in shared resources, in stocks and things like that.
Right, right, right. So then what is your perspective on free will versus fate debate?
On what?
Free will. Are we all capable of
Of
free
free will?
will? Yeah.
No. There's no such thing as free will. Free will is it's limit if there is free will, it's limited free will. So like you have the choice on whether or not you put cream or sugar in your coffee that morning,
Mhm.
or whether or not you even have a cup of coffee that morning. However, your life is going to play out a certain type of way according to your birth chart. So like you may have like these little choices in the meantime, but while you're on the way to the finish line, there are going to be certain check marks that I call fated events, things that are guaranteed to happen and you cannot change no matter what.
Right, right. That makes sense. Okay, so then for how can someone exploring their astrology and numerology for spiritual awakening contact you for more information?
Uh, they would just go to blindzachreadings.com,
Hmm.
uh, BLINDZAC readings.com, and you can purchase readings there. You can book time on the phone with me where I can do your reading over the phone, like person to person. Um, you can also go to my TikTok page, which is Blind Zach, the All Father. Message me there. I respond to every message.
Okay. Okay. And I'll definitely be adding all of the links in our YouTube channel on the comment section where you can contact Zach for more personalized readings. So final thoughts, Zach, what advice can you offer anybody seeking spiritual alignment for inner peace through astrology and numerology?
Just understand that astrology is the reason why, right? So if there's certain things in your life that you just don't understand, it can be found in astrology, and the answers are there. And one last thing I want to add: if anybody, in order for you to take advantage of the wealth manifestation event coming up, because it is in Pisces, the new moon's in Pisces. Whenever something is in a water sign, do water rituals. If it's in a fire sign, do fire rituals. Earth sign, do grounding, and air signs, do air rituals.
Yeah.
That's very
So,
important. And this one coming up, water rituals. Do
so what
things like,
what are water rituals that we can do?
I mean, it's whatever you want it to be because the all is mentalism. It's whatever the action that you put intent behind. Uh, if there's certain things that you want to cut away from your life, let's say you write a list of things you no longer want in your life on a piece of paper, then drown that piece of paper in water. You know how water destroys paper.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. I might be applying that technique as well.
Try that. Try thinking of the things you want to manifest and submerging yourself in water.
Okay. All right. So, Zach, we have a little bonus here where we are going to share with our viewers of the Bear Experiment a reading that you're going to do on me based on my astrological chart. So, let's
That's
go.
right. All right. So first of all, let's do a quick run through with numerology.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you're born on the 19th. Being
Yeah.
born on the 19th is one of the most powerful numbers to be born on because 1 and 9 are two of the most powerful numbers in numerology. One is ruled by the sun, 9 is ruled by Mars. There's a lot of creative expression, a lot of ego there, right? And ego isn't a bad thing. I need to stress that because a lot of people in the spiritual world think ego is bad. No, ego is 50% of who you are. It's the knowledge that you exist and it's how you self-identify. So you have a lot of self-assuredness there. And then life path 5, you like experiencing new things. You like going out trying something new. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So people with 5 energy are very much into like going out into nature and shit like that.
Okay. Definitely. Definitely can say yes
Also,
to that.
great communicators because 5 is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of communication.
Okay.
Um, Life Path 5 people tell stories that are really engaging when they talk. People listen just because of that energy.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, and that's what I'm saying about numerology is that's where like the vagaries of numerology is. Yeah, like one, life path one or day number. Hang on a second. Oh, I had an itch. Anyway, so being born on the 19th, 1 plus 9 is 10, 1 plus 0 is 1. One is the leader. However, 19 is more about like focus, maybe like trailblazer energy, not so much wanting to be the person who's leading thousands of people behind them, but they'd like to to blaze the trail that those people can actually walk down.
Right. They like to we definitely I like to march at my own beat, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm definitely, or at least I try not to be a follower.
But you're definitely not going to be with that strong one energy with the sun in Leo. Like you're definitely follower is not who you are at all. You have no follower energy. That's funny. You actually do have a moon in Gemini.
Okay. What does that mean?
Remember we were talking about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Moon in Gemini. Unhealed version of Moon in Gemini is like emotionally scattered, emotionally all over the place. Whenever something happens that sparks your emotions, you can feel this way about it 1 minute and then this way about it the next.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true.
But the healed version is very emotionally intelligent. They're able to step back from their emotions and observe them, process them, catalog them, and put them away.
Okay. And how do you heal that? What do you do?
You tell me, you're the one who has it. I don't.
Okay.
No, it's one of those things. There's no correct answer, right? It's whatever works for you, right? And for you, I would say it's probably this, right? So communication is a very big aspect of who you are with that moon in Gemini. When you have Gemini in the big three, communication is a very big aspect of it. Creating a podcast where you get to communicate and share ideas with a lot of different people, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to bring a lot of healing to that aspect of your life anyway.
And it's interesting how you say that because whenever I've been asked by guests or friends or anybody just asking me information about the podcast, I always explain that part of the reason why I started this was for my inner healing. Because just talking to different people, and it's kind of a mental health podcast what it's turned into, but it makes me understand that everybody's broken and everybody's going through their inner bullshit. And we're all one and we're all in this together. So
Exactly.
yeah, definitely it was definitely for inner healing, and it's turned into something bigger than that now. So
You got yeah, you have so hang on a second. Hang on. I'm looking at here. Oh yeah, so you have Mercury in Virgo. That's rulership. Mercury rules Virgo, or not rulership, exaltation. Mercury rules Gemini. Mercury is exalted in Virgo because Mercury is accumulating of information. Virgo is attention to details. Whenever Mercury is in Virgo, it creates really intelligent people who are great communicators. It really makes sense that you have a podcast.
okay. Okay.
It's also you called it a it's turned into like something for mental health. That's for everybody who comes on, anybody who watches, and also for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You have Venus in Virgo. Venus is actually in fall in Virgo. Venus doesn't like being in Virgo because love doesn't like paying attention to the details. Because when you pay attention to details, lies start to come out, things start to come undone. Venus and Virgo people, relationships are a struggle for them in life. And then I mean the main thing, so if we was to focus on your big three, right? You got the sun in Leo, moon in Gemini, rising Cancer. So basically for you, uh this makes you an intelligent person who has the ability to lead or has the ability to take initiative, but you also do it with empathy and compassion to others.
Very true. Very true.
And
All right.
I could literally just do this all day. I could spend 8 hours on eight
That's
to 12
great.
hours on someone's birth chart.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you giving me this information. It's the first time I ever receive any type of this breakdown. So, and there was a lot of validity to it. Absolutely. I can definitely attest to it being true. So I would definitely love to get a little more feedback from you personally so that we can really get into depth about that so that I can utilize
Absolutely.
higher growth and abundance. I think that we're all seeking that. But yeah, I think that this is an important topic where people, may feel a little bit like I was saying earlier. It's not something that everybody can feel comfortable with addressing in public. So on a personal level, I'll definitely be adding, like I said earlier, all of your links in our comment section in the YouTube channel so that people can contact you directly and get more in-depth readings from you. Really appreciate your help and education. With all of this, you've answered a lot of personal questions for myself as well. Nothing, and we'll definitely keep in touch, Zach. So thanks again
Absolutely.
for
Thank
giving
you
me
for
the
having me.
time, yeah, to talk to me about this. I'll be posting this link tonight on YouTube and I'll share it with you as well so that you can listen to it. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Take care. Okay. Have a
You
great
too.
rest of the day. All right. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye.